Hey everyone, John here. This is going to be the first in, I guess, at least a couple Halloween-related videos this month. I'm planning on doing a review of something, hopefully later in the month. Hopefully that works out. But for now, it's time for a vlog, a first impression vlog. This is on a show called Creeped Out. This is a show that previously aired on TV in both the UK and Canada, and now, as of today, it premiered on Netflix here in the US. Now, the show Creeped Out is basically a children's live-action horror anthology show along the lines of Are You Afraid of the Dark, Goosebumps, or R.L. Stine's The Haunting Hour. I didn't know too much about this for today. I saw it was something that was coming to Netflix a couple days ago, so I had to put it on my list, and, came out today, I watched it. So let's talk about the first 3 episodes that I watched earlier today. Now, this show, like I said, it's an anthology show, so each episode, its own new standalone story, characters, setting, all that stuff, although possibly takes place in the same universe. Now, each episode has sort of a bit of a framing device. There's a character, sort of a horror character, called The Curious. This is a horror show, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that, but it was probably implied. Yeah, but The Curious is somebody who basically collects strange tales. So the stories that we see in each episode are the tales that he has collected. He kind of visits these locations at the time that these scary tales are happening, and he sort of collects them, and, we see them as they're happening, of course. A pretty creepy looking character. Nice, yeah, kind of, he has like this mask he wears. Interesting looking design. Now, the show, in my opinion, is so far, based on the first 3 episodes, pretty good. Now, okay, the first episode is called Marty, spelled with an I. Now, this episode kind of deals with the theme of technology and the problems with it, similar to the British show that you can now watch on Netflix, Black Mirror, the adult show, which I would recommend, by the way, if you're old enough to watch it. This particular episode is about a girl who buys a new cell phone that she sees advertised on TV, and the cell phone has, like, artificial intelligence, AI. And it's something that she can, like, communicate with and almost has sort of, like, a relationship with it that she develops. First I'm watching it, I wasn't totally sure about this one. There's some things that are a little odd. Like, there's this one character, a boy, who she has a crush on, who becomes an important part of the episode, and I swear he has a Justin Bieber haircut. Like, the second I first saw him, I'm like, is that 12-year-old Justin Bieber right there? Because he looks just like him with a haircut and everything. The show, it came out in the UK, Canada last year, premiering here, but at times it did feel like it had a little bit of, like, how do you do fellow kids vibe going on to it, if you know that meme. I'm sure you do. But you have this whole, this girl, Kim, and the AI helps make her more popular at school. She's very unpopular. But then it starts to kind of act all controlling. Of course, it turns out to be an evil machine. I won't say anything else that happens. Now, this is true of somewhat of, I would say, at least the second episode that I saw, which we'll get into in a minute. It's called Slapstick. That's the second episode. Not as much the third episode, but some of the stories feel a little bit familiar at times. Like, I'm watching this episode, I'm watching the second episode, I'm kind of like, I feel like I've kind of seen some of this kind of stuff before. It definitely reminded me of stuff I've seen on the Goosebumps. Like this whole premise about a device that you think versus helping you, but then kind of takes control and hurts you. It has some similarity. It definitely reminded me of the Goosebumps episode, I believe it was called Click, about a remote that does something similar. This is, of course, more modern, updated. But it's still a good story. At first I was like, I don't know, but all the episodes to each of these 3 episodes, all the endings to each of these 3 episodes have some very strong endings to them, some interesting twists. This one has a good one. It has sort of, I don't want to say too much, there's sort of a couple interesting things that happen for the end that made me be like, okay, yeah, that was a good episode. I wasn't sure up until that point, but when it was all over, I'm like, okay, that one was good. Definitely an interesting twist, where it kind of, you think it's going in one direction, it's clever, but then it's like, whoop, nope, something else happened. So that was impressive. I liked that one. Like, so the second episode is called Slapstick. This is about a girl named Jessie, and all these characters are teenagers, around like 15, 14, whatever. And she has these parents that embarrass her. And one day, at the beach near her house, she meets a puppet that talks to her. Another boy introduces her to this puppet. The puppet goes by the name Mr. Blackteeth. And he tells her that he has this way that she can control her parents. And this ends up happening. She doesn't believe it at first, but then it actually happens. And basically, they become like her puppets. This one I don't have a ton to say about. This was, I guess, another one that, well, I'm like, I don't know, it's a little familiar. I've kind of seen something a little like this before with, like, the creepy monster who kind of, can do things to people. It was a little familiar, but it was another one, I thought, with an ending that took this kind of story in an interesting direction, a good twist that I hadn't seen before. And I will say that this is a show, unlike something like Are You Afraid of the Dark, and more like the R.L. Stine shows, particularly The Haunting Hour, this one is one that's not afraid to do unhappy endings, which I can always appreciate. Sometimes, of course, life doesn't always work out how you want it to, and sometimes it's interesting to see that because it kind of has a certain thing where it's like, it takes a little gusto to do something like that on a show for kids, even for older kids, so that's something I can appreciate. The third episode was definitely the strongest of the three. This one was very good. The first two were just good. This one's, like, very, very good. It's called Kindlestick. This is the way that they are, at least in my country. I think the ordering and stuff is different if you watch them in the UK or Canada, but in my country, this is the ordering. Now, this one is about a girl named Esme who was an actress on another Canadian show that I watched called Backstage, which you can watch on Netflix, at least in the US. Another show I recommend. The narrator at the beginning calls her the world's worst babysitter. And she's this very mean babysitter who basically... she has a very good reputation for some reason. The parents never find out what she's doing, but she goes to these kids' houses, and she gets them to go to bed by, telling them these scary stories like, oh, there's a monster, and it'll come out if you don't go to bed. Scares the kids, they go to bed. She's very successful, and then her boyfriend comes over, and they just, like, watch TV and eat snacks and stuff. But then one day, a kid she's babysitting does something to sort of kind of turn the tables on her, if you will. And it definitely an interesting kind of creative plot. This one kind of deals with the theme of an unlikable character or getting a certain level of comeuppance, which we saw in the R.L. Stine shows. I mean, I was reading a little bit about the show on IMDb, and the creators, apparently, it doesn't say anything about the creators getting inspiration from these shows, but they mentioned like another show they got inspiration from, but I definitely see a lot of inspiration from those shows. The R.L. Stine stuff, and, Are You Afraid of the Dark to a certain extent, too. But anyway, this one, it has kind of a creative, interesting premise, but then this one also has a twist ending, which at first I was, like, a little confused, then I looked something up about it, I'm like, okay, I get that. But this was a very strong twist ending, brought it up from an episode that was consistently good throughout, and then, like, yeah, that was really good. Yeah. I'm definitely going to be finishing the rest of the series. I think I could see myself doing, or a must-see episodes review at some point in the future. I don't know, maybe next Halloween or something could be a good time, or just whenever I want. But yeah, definitely one I would recommend. I think it's not at the point of greatness yet. It's not at the point of greatness yet. I don't know if I'll ever enjoy it to the same extent I enjoy something like The Haunting Hour. But so far I kind of like it better than Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark? So that's good. It's pretty consistent with the quality. It's something I'd recommend checking out. Like I said, if you live in the U.S., you can get it there on Netflix if you have it. It's good. It's pretty creepy. It has some good suspense, and yeah, like I said, I actually recommend Kindlestick, the most out of the three. Maybe I'll talk about this more on Twitter if I end up, having something else to say about future episodes. But this is something I'll definitely be watching. Like I said, a little familiar, but pretty good. All right, that's all I have to say, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I hope to get some more reviews out to you this month. Bye.